Hello and welcome back to FPL Fast Track. My name is Jamal and today I am going to analyze Game Week 11 fixtures. Let's get to it. We can immediately see Tottenham have won 20% of their games at home. Man United have also won 20% of their games away. They have the exact same points here. We can see 17 points. And we can see that Man United have scored 8 goals in the past 3 games compared to Spurs only scoring half of that. So in terms of number of goals scored, Man United have they're in a better form of scoring goals. But at the same time, we can see that Man United have conceded slightly more goals. So that's something to note. So if we look at the individual team stats here, and select Spurs, we can see Spurs are currently 5th on the Premier League table, and overall they have scored 17 goals over 10 game weeks, and they have conceded 8 goals only. So Spurs will be playing at home. So let's see their home record. So you can see that if we selected on home, their home record is actually very poor and it's equivalent to very close at the bottom, right? So they have only collected 4 points playing at home. They've lost three games. They've won only one game and drew another game. So they collected 4 points. They've conceded 5 goals playing at home, and they've only managed to score 5 goals at home as well. So their home record is not great. The most recent games that they played at home was against Chelsea. They lost 1-0 to Chelsea. And game week 8 they lost 2-1 to Aston Villa. So the last time they actually won a game at home was in game week 1 when they played against Burnley. So that's something we need to note. If we look at Man United's away record, now Man United's away record is actually very similar in terms of the stats and record. Man United's away record is actually very poor as well. So they've lost 2, they drew 2, and they won 1 game, and they've generated only 5 points. So they've generated 1 more point than Spurs if we were to just compare the home versus away. But they have conceded a lot more goals. So they conceded double the amount of goals than Tottenham, and they've only scored 1 more goal as well. So and if we look at the most current record, they played Nottingham Forest recently, and they drew against them, and they won against Liverpool in game week number 8. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game. If we remember how Tottenham played against Chelsea, I think Chelsea and Man United are currently in the same bracket, so we could expect a similar matchup. So I think it would be a very low scoring game, possibly a low scoring game. And the team that will be successful is the team who dominate the midfield. And that's where you need a player like Caicedo to determine who's going to win this match. So I think it's going to be potentially a similar scoring match like Chelsea and Tottenham. So I will look into that in more detail. The next fixture I want to go through is Everton versus Fulham. So Everton versus Fulham. Oops, something's wrong. There it is. Everton versus. Next fixture of Game Week 11 is Everton versus Fulham. Now, already I see a very interesting stat. Everton have won 40% of their games playing at home. Fulham have won no games at all playing away. They've got the same points, 11 points, and they've got one ranking difference between the two, so they are very similar. Fulham, however, have scored 4 goals in the past 3 games. Everton, they are currently playing against Southampton, so is showing 0 right now. If we look at the teams individually, now Everton's home record. Everton's home record is not too bad. They've only lost one game, and that came across game week number 9. They lost 3-0 to Spurs. However, they've won 2 other games and drew 2 other games, and we can see they've conceded 5 in total, and they have scored 5 as well. So their home record has been good until the last game week. So, and if we look at the average score, average number of goals they scored is roughly 1 goal per game. And they conceded roughly 1 goal per game as well when they played at home. So they play against Fulham. Let's have a look at Fulham's record playing away. Now, Fulham have got a terrible record playing away. They have lost 4 games and drew 1 game, and the only game they drew came from game week 1. And if you look at the number of goals they're conceding, that's generally an average of 2 to 3 goals that they're conceding. They've conceded 11 goals in total and only managed to score 4. So just based on that, we can strongly assume that Everton are likely to score goals in this game, and they're likely to win as well. So we should consider picking the strong Everton players. Okay, and I'll cover that later on over the week. So the next game I wanted to analyze, the next game in game week 11 is West Ham versus Burnley. Now, again, this is a team who are in a similar level in the Premier League ranking. We can see that Burnley is 17th and West Ham is 18th, so they are borderline relegation zone. We can also see West Ham have won only 20% of the games at home. Burnley won only 20% of the games away. We can see the number of goals they've scored is actually very similar. 4 for West Ham, 5 for Burnley, and the number of goal conceding is very similar as well. 5 for West Ham and 4 for Burnley. So that's the number of goals conceded in the last 3 games. So the current form is actually on the similar level. Overall, they're on a similar level, and the current form is on a similar level. Let's see if we can find any further details by looking at the teams individually. So if we select West Ham's home record, let's deselect home for now and just select West Ham. Right, so West Ham's overall record, they won the last game at home. That was very significant because their home record has been extremely poor. You can see they, apart from the last game, they have lost every single game at home. they conceded 13 goals in total at home, and they managed to score 3 in the last game against a strong Newcastle side who has a record of draws playing away. So that was quite significant. This result is outside the patterns of data, so they did quite well here. So could that mean that they've got this momentum going? Could that mean that they're gonna continue with that momentum? Possibly. So they are playing against Burnley. Let's have a look at Burnley's record overall. Now Burnley's record again, okay, they lost against Arsenal, but the previous 2 games they won. So they actually perform quite well when it's a lower ranking team. So if we look at all the greens, fixture difficulty teams with 2, we can see they haven't lost a game who has a fixture difficulty level of 2. So this is a interesting, regardless whether it's home or away, they haven't lost. They actually won 3 games and drew another game with teams who are on that level. And we know West Ham is also fixture difficulty level 2, and Burnley are playing away. So let's have a look at the away record. Oops. Okay, so the away record again is not amazing. However, similar to West Ham, they lost 4 games in a row, and the last game they actually won. So this is quite interesting. It's a bit funny how they are identical at everything. So at the same time, they have conceded 15 goals. Look at these goals, 3-3. So they conceded an average of 3 goals per game playing away. So that's something to note. And they have only scored 7 goals. So overall, West Ham versus Burnley is a very, very evenly matched game. They have the same recent form, and even the overall stats are very, very similar. So I think the fact that both teams have been conceding a lot, the momentum have shifted a little bit. I would assume there's going to be goals, but when players of equal caliber play with each other, it's generally a draw. So I would predict it's a draw, but I'll do further analysis along the week and see what we can take out of this. Definitely. The next game I want to analyze is Sunderland versus Arsenal. Now, Sunderland's home record is amazing, whilst Arsenal's away record is also amazing. Arsenal have been excellent. And look at this stat here. Arsenal have not conceded a goal for a very long time. Sunderland as well haven't conceded many goals, but they are currently playing and they're losing 1-0 at the moment. So they've conceded 2 goals in the last 3 games. They've scored the same amount of goals in the past 3 games as well, 4 goals each. Let's have a look at their individual records. Now, Arsenal are currently second. No, actually, sorry. Let me deselect that. Arsenal are at the top with 25 points. The oops. Arsenal are currently at top with 25 points. They have won the past 5 games in a row. Most recent win is with Burnley. They have scored 18 goals in total and conceded only 3 goals. Now, if we have a look at the away record, they have won pretty much every game apart from losing against Liverpool. Their only loss came from Liverpool playing away. They have conceded 2 goals in total when they played it away and have scored 6 goals in total. So they're not necessarily a high scoring team, but at the same time, this defense is absolutely solid. So that is an amazing stat, unbelievable stat. If we look at Sunderland's home record, now they're currently playing against Everton and they're losing 1-0, but we can see that they've only conceded 2 goals at home. They haven't lost a game at home yet, so it would be interesting to see how the Everton match finishes. But they've scored more goals than Arsenal. They've scored 8 goals in total at home. So I think it would be an Arsenal win, but it will be a tough match as well. Possibly 1 or 2 goals. But overall, to be honest, Sunderland have been playing really, really well. So it would be interesting to see how they perform against Arsenal. But Arsenal are just in a terrific form, so I don't see Arsenal losing at all. The next game I want to analyze is Chelsea versus Wolves. So okay, so the first thing I see here is Wolves have conceded 4 times as much as Chelsea in the last 3 games, whilst at the same time Chelsea has scored 5 goals in the past 3 games. Wolves have only scored 2 goals. So, and at the same time, Wolves haven't won a game playing away yet. Chelsea have won 40% of their games playing away. So immediately we can assume that Chelsea are going to win this match. All the data is suggesting that Chelsea have the form, they have the ability, and they have the history of winning matches like this. So if we analyze Chelsea's home record, if we just unclick home record, Chelsea's recent form, they've lost against Sunderland, but other than that, they've won 3 games. But they have lost quite a few games. I can see they've lost 3 games in total. Whilst Wolves have lost 8 games. Now, if we look at Chelsea's home record, they most recently lost against Sunderland in GameWeek 9, 2-1. But they did win against Liverpool. They lost against Brighton. You can see their home fixture rating is 2 and 3. So they lost against Sunderland 2-1. They've conceded 6 and they've scored 6 as well. So it's pretty average. It's not the best record, but it's pretty average. But they are playing against Wolves away, and we can see Wolves are down here. Wolves have only generated 1 point from 5 away games. They've conceded 8 and they've only managed to score 1. So, the data is suggesting that Wolves is likely to lose. They are losing. They've conceded 8, so that's roughly close to 2 goals average they are conceding every game. So we can strongly assume that Chelsea are highly likely to win this game and potentially a clean sheet as well. The next game to analyze is Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. Aston Villa has a 60% home win record, whilst Bournemouth have a 20% away win record. Now, although Bournemouth have had a good season so far, they have a very poor away record, and we saw what happened with Man City recently. They have scored double the amount of goals than Aston Villa in the past 3 game weeks, and they have conceded double the amount of goals compared to Aston Villa in the past 3 game weeks. So that's quite interesting. Let's have a look at their overall stats. So if we look at Aston Villa, where is Aston Villa? Aston Villa are in the middle of the table. The most recent game was a 2-0 loss against Liverpool, and they played away. They won at home against Man City. So let's have a look at the home record. They have won 3 games in total at home. They lost 1 and drew 1, and they've won the last 3 games. And we can see this was a significant win as they played against a very strong opponent, and they won against Man City. So they had a clean sheet as well, and if I remember, I think Matty Cash scored that in this game. So they are playing, so they clearly have proof that they've won against strong teams, so they're not scared to play against strong teams. And they have this, although they've lost recently away, they have this momentum going on at home, right? Now, if we look at Bournemouth, most recently lost against Man City. They won against Nottingham Forest, but if we look at the away record, we can see they've been conceding a lot. 12 goals conceded in 5 away games. So that's an average of 2.25, 2.25 or something like that. So that's really, really poor. At the same time, they've only scored 9 goals playing away. They lost against Man City, and the only game they won playing away was the game between Tottenham in GameWeek 3. Now, Aston Villa, they have scored 6 and conceded 5 at home, and Bournemouth have conceded 12. So we can therefore assume that Bournemouth will concede at home. They are very likely to concede, potentially lose. Aston Villa are playing quite well, so I would assume Aston Villa is going to score. So this game, my prediction is going to be an Aston Villa win. Okay, next game is Brentford versus Newcastle. Again, Newcastle haven't won a game away yet. Brentford, however, won 60% of their games at home, so they do have a good record playing at home. They scored a similar number of goals, and Newcastle have conceded slightly more goals. They're similar in ranking as well. So Brentford is a slightly stronger team than Newcastle. So if we look at the league table, we can see Brentford is here with 13 points and Newcastle is here with 12 points. Now let's see Brentford's current form. So the most recently they lost against Crystal Palace 2-0. They've won 4 games and lost 5 games. And if we look at their home record, so out of the 5 games they won, 3 of those games came at home. So they have a pretty strong record playing at home. They won against Liverpool, they lost against Man City, and they've actually pretty much played difficult team. Look at that. They played Aston Villa, Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Liverpool. That is actually a very difficult games they've been playing. So I think it would be refreshing for them to play against Newcastle. Again, Newcastle is not necessarily an easy team as well, so they've had a really tough record. But at the same time, you can see they've been scoring a lot of goals. 9 goals they've scored in total at home, 3 against Liverpool, so that 3 against Man United, so 2 against Chelsea. So, I get the feeling Brentford are likely to score based on that record. Now, if we have a look at Newcastle away have lost the last 2 games that they played away against West Ham and Brighton. They are struggling to score, only scored 2 goals at away and conceded 5. So the form hasn't been stronger. So immediately, based on the current form, I would say Brentford are likely to win. And so if you've got any Newcastle defenders or goalkeepers, do not play them, definitely. Next game I'm going to look into is Crystal Palace versus Brighton. Okay, so this is 2 teams. These are 2 teams who are in a similar level within the Premier League table, 9th and 10th. Brighton has scored slightly more goals than Crystal Palace in the past 3 games, and number of goals conceded is also very similar. Crystal Palace has this kind of momentum going on, but Brighton have been scoring. So if we look at Crystal Palace's home record, Crystal Palace is here. We can see that, they haven't even lost a game at home yet. They drew 3 games and they won 2 games. Most recently, they won against Brentford and they got a clean sheet as well. They've conceded 5 goals in total, which is an average of 1 goal per game. And if we just look at the last 3 games played at home, they conceded 2 or 3. So they've been leaky at the back, but they still haven't lost a game at home. So they do have that confidence going ahead into the fixture. So if we look at Brighton, Let's look at Brighton. Brighton, however, they have been playing well. They lost against Man United, but overall they've been playing quite well actually. They won against Chelsea, Newcastle, Leeds, most recently against Leeds. So they've been playing quite well. But if we look at the away record, you can see this. Most of it is red. So the away record isn't great. They've lost 3 games. They lost the most recent game against Man United. They conceded 4. I know it was a stoppage time, but still they conceded 4 goals. They conceded 10 in total. So I think because of Brighton, I think it's a pretty simple. Based on these stats, Crystal Palace are highly likely to win. Brighton know how to score goals, but they do concede a lot of goals, whereas Crystal Palace are unbeaten at home. So I would say Crystal Palace is the team to invest in. If you've got Mateta, then you know he's likely to score as well. Next game is Nottingham Forest and Leeds. Now, Nottingham Forest had a surprise win against Newcastle most recently. So, if we look at those teams here, Nottingham Forest, I think the fact that they managed to get a win at home is starting to show they've got some sort of momentum. But if we compare both teams together, both teams have only scored 2 goals in the past 3 games and conceded similar goals as well, 6 and 7. Yeah. So if we look at Nottingham Forest, let's check Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, the second last team at the bottom of the table. They've conceded 19 goals. They've only managed to score 7. Most recently, they drew against Man United 2-2. But you can see that to concede 19 goals in 10 games, that means they've been conceding roughly 2 goals per game. If we look at the home record, you can see they managed to score 2 goals, and this draw is actually a big relief, to be honest, because you can see that the 3 games before that they lost every single game. So, and to draw against Man United, who are in a good form, that's actually a very good achievement. So what do I think when they play at home against Leeds? Based on this game, I think that, well, let's have a look at Leeds first. Now Leeds here, away record, we can see it's exactly the same. They've only won 1 game and they've lost every other game. They've conceded 12 goals in 5 games playing away, so that's an average of 2.25 roughly. So they've been conceding a lot. So the question is, and they've only scored 3 goals. So both Leeds and Nottingham Forest are in a similar level. But based on the current form, the fact that Nottingham Forest have, drew against Man United, and the fact that they've found their ability to start scoring again, I strongly think Nottingham Forest are likely to win. Because if you look at Leeds, they've only won 1 game playing away, and they scored 3 goals, and all 3 goals came from that 1 game. Every other game that they played away, they haven't managed to find the net. So mentally, that's gonna impact them. And the fact that Nottingham Forest recently managed to score 2 goals, even though they went through that, they went through they went through the goal drought similar to Leeds. I think they have that edge now. So that is my summary for this game. Final game I want to analyze, it's a big game, and that's Man City versus Liverpool. Now these both teams are very close in the league ranking. Both the teams have scored 5 goals in the past 3 games. Liverpool, however, conceded a 71% share of the goals if we compare the last 3 games. And based on the home and away percentage win record, we can see Man City have a better chance of winning. And now, if we look at Man City's home record, they are absolutely excellent. They scored 13 goals in 5 games. That's an that's an average of close to 3 goals per game. They conceded 4 goals in total. But if we look at the teams they played, they mainly played teams with fixture difficulty 2 and 3. Now Liverpool is a stronger fixture, right? Let's have a look at Liverpool's away record. They've lost the past 3 away games. They lost with Crystal Palace, Chelsea and Brentford. So they conceded 9 goals and scored 8 goals. And I think it's going to be a easy Man City win, because they have that edge, they have that momentum. Man City are the most strongest attacking team, especially at home. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I select home, and if I just click on this button here to see who scored the most goals at home, we can see Man City have scored the most goals playing at home with 13 goals. Arsenal comes second, and they play against Liverpool. They've scored 10 goals in total at home. So that is quite significant here. They're the strongest at home. If we click on away, we can see Liverpool are actually the 4th strongest team to play away. Strongest as in scored 8 goals. So they rank the 4th. So I honestly think Man City are going to win this game, although Liverpool are maybe shifting the momentum by winning their most recent game. I think Man City are going to win this game. Thank you for watching my video. I will be analyzing the teams further over the game week, and give me a like if you like it, comment if you have any questions, and we'll see you soon.